Silent Hill 4, The Room. Okay, so let me explain. I played this on Twitch recently. 7 parts is what it took. The reason why I chose to play Silent Hill The Room is because I beat Silent Hill 2 on Twitch, and I had thought about doing 1 and 3, but then I realized, well, I've never beaten 4, so I'll do a blind playthrough of 4, because I never had finished that game, for the first time on Twitch, and see how fast I can beat it, and see what I could do. And in many ways, Silent Hill 4, I've always been intrigued by it because I saw the trailer for it and it looks really creepy. It has a really creepy concept. And I was like, hey, let me play the game for the first time. And for a while, it got this reputation of it being the redheaded stepchild of the series, and I do understand why now. But while I was playing Silent Hill 2, a lot of people in the chat were like, yo, you should play Silent Hill 4 because it's underrated. Or when I would mention Silent Hill 4, they'd say, it's very underrated. So I said, all right, well, I'll give it a shot. First of all, I want to say that I played the game on normal, not on easy or on hard. So I played it on the most base difficulty, normal, which is the way it's meant to be played. And on top of that, I wasn't expecting it to be as good as Silent Hill 1, 2, and 3. I wasn't. I thought it would be just a decent game, maybe as good as the first one, maybe, I just wanted to have a good time, and boy, I did have a good time, but it wasn't all a good time. I have a real mixed opinion about Silent Hill 4 The Room. So first of all, Silent Hill 4 The Room was not originally supposed to be a Silent Hill game. The original project was called Room 302, and it was going to have a very similar premise, if not the same exact idea, made by the same creators of Silent Hill, but it wasn't going to be a Silent Hill game, which is why this game does not really take place in Silent Hill. There are references to it, there are connections to it, there's lore behind it that does connect to the previous games, but it's not like a traditional Silent Hill game that takes place in Silent Hill. So, going into that, I didn't mind that too much. But when I started playing the game, I gotta say, so let me just give you my review here. So, this is one of those games, that I feel really weird talking about because some of this game is absolutely brilliant. Some of this game is genius. But a lot of it is complete and utter trash. Complete trash. So, let me explain what I mean. First of all, the story. This game has an incredible story. It's creepy. It is interesting. It constantly is giving you clues without giving you answers. And I tried not to look things up. It helps you kind of figure it out on your own, delving into the past, delving into the backstory, what's going on with the room, what is going on with the people around the room, why are things so weird. So that, to me, was spectacular. And by the end of the game, I wound up loving the story. I love the story of this game. Love it, love it, love it, love it. You'll never hear me say anything bad about the story. In fact, if you want to watch a playthrough of this game, normally I'm the kind of guy who I'm against doing playthroughs, I'm against watching playthroughs of games that you could just play yourself or that you plan to play. But in this case, I actually tell people to go watch a playthrough versus playing it themselves, because playing it yourself, it's absolute torture. So the first half of this game, was fine. You're going to these what's happening is, without going into spoilers, there's bizarre activity, supernatural activity going on in your apartment, and you discover a giant hole in the wall of your apartment. And as you go in the hole, you go to different sections of the town, such as the subway station, you go to an orphanage. These are all clues of a prison. They're all little clues of what's really going on, but very subtly. So these early sections where you're going to different areas, they were pretty okay. They weren't super difficult, but they were pretty okay. Now, the problems I ran into with this game is this. Look, I can deal with difficulty. I can deal with difficult games as long as the game gives me enough to beat it. So, if you're playing a game that's difficult to be difficult, I'm not a big fan of it. But if there's a reason for it to be difficult, to where it challenges my speed, my ability to think, my ability to use the game mechanics, that's fine. But if it's just difficult to be difficult and it becomes to the point where it's ridiculous, I start to question it, especially with a game like this. This game, it doesn't play like a Silent Hill game. First of all, the inventory, you don't have infinite inventory. There are inventory slots, and that's going to bite you later in the game, big time. Early in the game, doesn't matter. Later in the game, it's going to bite you. That's number one. Number two, the enemies in this game, some of the enemies have to be some of the most obnoxious I've ever gone up against. There are these like tiger dogs, right? These like dogs that make noises like tigers. They jump on you 2 or 3 at a time, and it's impossible to hit one of them without having the other one hit you. So you're surrounded by these dogs, and you're firing with your gun or with your melee weapon, and you're getting one of the dogs. You knock it down, but you can't finish it off because the other dog's biting you from the other side. And rinse and repeat over and over and over again. There were sections of this game that I had to play over and over again because I kept dying, including running away from people, including, trying to be a bit more tactical. Doesn't matter what I tried, it was a pain in the ass. And I hated that with a passion. That's not the worst enemy, though. Later in the game, you run into these ghosts. Now, the issue with these ghosts is that, A, they can't be killed. You can knock them away with a melee weapon or with a gun, which I wouldn't recommend because A, the guns in this game, the pistol is completely useless. The taser was able to one-shot most enemies. And meanwhile, with the gun, I will fire off 10 to 12 shots and the monster will stay alive. I zap them once with the taser and they're gone. How does that make any sense? Only in this game is a taser more powerful than a freaking gun. Only in this game. But, let me get back to my point. These ghosts, the only weapon that works on these ghosts, because you can't kill them. You literally can't kill them. You can shoot them all you want. They go down, they get right back up, they keep coming after you. Now, I want to remind you, I played this game on normal. If you have played this game on easy, maybe it wasn't so bad. Maybe it was doable. For me, it was a freaking nightmare. So, they throw these ghosts at you, which you can typically run away from until they throw 3, 4, 5 ghosts at you. Here's the problem. Same thing with the dogs. You hit one of them, then get knocked away, you get hit by the other ones. You can't target multiple targets. You literally can only aim at one, hit it with a slow animation, or whatever. Even to shoot your gun, there's an animation. It doesn't just go quickly. And, bad hitboxes as well. Don't forget that. Terrible hitboxes, in fact. Terrible. And so you're getting swarmed by these ghosts, and the only way to even get any kind of relief from this is you have to knock a ghost down, which takes a lot, and then you have to use the Sword of Obedience. It's called the Sword of Obedience, and you stab them with it, and they stay down. Now, there's a couple parts in this game where you have to use that sword. You have to use it. There's 2 parts in the second half of the game that you have to use it, or else it's like impossible. Like you have to do it. There's one part where you actually have to do it to a ghost to knock them on the ground to take an item. Like you have to do it. You can't pass that part without doing it. And you can leave the sword in there and the ghost will be trapped indefinitely. But if you take the sword out, you might see the ghost again later because the ghost is freed. Now again, that mechanic isn't terrible all by itself. But when you're being attacked by 4 or 5 ghosts at once, it's a bit of a problem. It's a bit of an issue. Then, again, I was able to get by that. But then the second half of the game takes all of these very annoying things, like the lack of ammo. If you're going to give me a lot of enemies, give me a lot of ammo. Or at least let me run away from the enemies like you do for games like Resident Evil, the first one. Or Code Veronica. When you have low ammo in a game, you can find ways to get around it. That's what they do, right? Do that. But no, that's not what happens here. It actually gets worse. In the second half of the game, there's a character in the game named Eileen, who's your neighbor. She's pretty much... You have to do what's considered an escort mission with her. In other words, you go back to these areas you were already in, but with her next to you, and she's completely useless. You can give her a weapon if you want, and it can help a little bit, but she's going to end up getting tore up real bad by the enemies. Now, here's the thing. While I played with her, she did not die. But what happens is the more she's tore up, the more it affects the end game, because in the final boss fight, the more damage that she took throughout the game, the harder it is to get a good ending because there's 4 endings. And if you don't do everything right, you're going to get one of the bad endings, and she's a very crucial part to that. You understand? So just imagine playing through this game, which again, it's on my Twitch. Just imagine playing through this game, right? You're getting attacked by numerous monsters. You can't fight back because the animation is too slow. You are being bombarded. You don't have enough weapons, so you have enough ammo, so you have to use melee weapons that oftentimes break on you, like Breath of the Wild. You know how much I hate that mechanic. Oh, and if they break on you, can you just throw them away? Nope. You have to go all the way back to your apartment and put them away in the inventory box. That's a horrible game mechanic. Horrible. The game mechanics in this game are embarrassing for a franchise that's done by Konami and that's done, this is a mainstream franchise. This is not some indie game. They should get this stuff right. The mechanic is absolutely terrible, and you're playing through this game and you're just completely, in many ways, victimized by this game because you're being hit by multiple ghosts. Or there was one section where I got hit with like 2 dogs, 3 apes, and like these little flying bees. And if you're not getting hit, Eileen's getting hit. And the more she's getting hit, the worse it is for you at the end of the game. And it gets worse. So you think, okay, maybe I can run away from these guys. Well, guess what? You can't. Because if you run away too far, you'll lose Eileen. And guess what? You have to go right back into the fire den with all the enemies, right back into the inferno to save her. I'm serious. They're giving you an escort mission without giving you proper ammunition and without even having the escort keep up with you. So you literally can't even run away from the enemies like you could do in the first half of the game. You can't run away. You don't get enough ammo to kill them, but you can't run away because if you run away for more than a few seconds, you lose Eileen. That is a horrible embarrassment of a fucking game mechanic. It's fucking bad. It's bad, dude. And I couldn't tell you how many times I was practically screaming. I didn't throw my controller, but I was close to it at parts where this would happen. You would get bombarded by enemies and you couldn't do anything. And I'm playing it on normal. If I'm playing it on like extreme difficulty, I get it. This is my first playthrough. If I knew where all the enemies were at, and if I knew where everything was at, it would probably be a little bit easier to play through this game. Obviously, the more you play a game, the better you get at it, right? But this game beat my ass so much and was so frustrating that I had no interest in playing the game again. Like none. I had no interest. I never want to play this game ever again. I never will. I see no reason to. I see no reason to play this game again. Because it's bad. And then, as if that wasn't enough, you have to escort Eileen through like 5 different dungeons or castles, or they're not really dungeons, but they're areas. Let's call them areas. And while this is going on, the storyline's getting better. It's still atmospheric. It still has that creepy Silent Hill atmosphere, that loneliness feeling. All of the atmospheric and horror aspects of Silent Hill were in this game. And that's why it's a travesty. Because, dude, they got so many things right. The story about this mysterious serial killer and a lot of the symbolism and the creepiness, like the connection to his mother. There's tons of Psycho references. Like, there's a lot of things going on here that, as a fan of this genre, I absolutely love. Tons of things. And then, like, the horrible gameplay mechanics just ruin the game. Literally ruin the game, man. I'm not even trying to be, melodramatic here. It ruins the freaking game. I got to the point where when I was streaming it, I wound up like leaving the stream early. I would play the game for, when I was playing Silent Hill 2, I was playing it for like 4 or 5 hours. Like, I was heavy into that game. But when I'm playing this game, like, I literally would have been playing for 4 or 5 hours straight if it was that good, but I found myself, the more I got into it, being so frustrated that I wound up not even wanting to play. Like, I wound up telling myself, I'm just going to finish this game because I'm so close to the end that I might as well finish it. And then when I got near the end, I got stuck so often that I started going to a guide, which I hate using. I hate doing guides, but guides help me get unstuck because the game doesn't give you enough clues. Now, normally I can get around that if you give me time. But if I'm streaming a game, obviously I don't have the same amount of time. Plus, by that point, I was no longer having fun. And then it gets even more, dude, fuck this game. There's a part in the game where you're in the prison, right? And you're with Eileen and you're running, you're basically running like across this, I guess you can call it sort of like, it's like an outdoor area. You're running around the prison, like a balcony, I guess you can say. And you're being attacked by these bugs, right? Here's the problem, is that the camera angles... This game has a better camera than Silent Hill 2, but in some parts it has a horrible camera. The camera is shot from the bottom up, so you're running, right? And the camera's up, so you can't really see what's going on because of the way, you're underneath the little balcony, so you're seeing like most of the balcony. And so you can't see the enemies coming at you, so you can't like protect yourself or move around them or hit them. You just can't because there's a balcony blocking it. So you're hearing the enemy, bzzz, little bugs or whatever, little flying insects, and you can't do anything about it because you can't see. The game blocks your field of view, so how do you protect yourself from that? And meanwhile, while that's going on, you're being chased down by a guy with a gun while your freaking chick is behind you moving at a snail's pace. It's just too much, man. They try to do too much with this game at the same time, and you can't do it. No sane human being can deal with this. Definitely not on your first playthrough. If you play the game a few times, sure. But on your first playthrough, you're getting bombarded. And the game does this constantly. And then the final boss fight, which I thought was brilliant. The symbolism, the way you have to do things is a brilliant idea. But the problem is the guy takes way too many hits to kill. So it wound up being a thing where I died a bunch of times. And in the last time I fought him, I used an aluminum baseball bat. And I was able to beat him with just a little bit of health left. So if he would have hit me first, I would have been dead. So, like, those game mechanics are incredibly frustrating. And if you're playing the game on easy, maybe it's not so bad. Maybe I should have played the game on easy, but I didn't want to do that. I did not want to do that. Maybe next time I'll learn from this, and the next time I play a game like this, I'll put it on easy. But I didn't want to do that. I just wanted to play the normal game. And yet, like I said, while all this horrible shit's going on, the story is so good that I almost feel like, you know what, maybe it's worth it for the story. But the truth is, it really isn't. It is not worth it for the story. I don't know if any game that has gameplay this annoying is ever worth it for the story, dude. Including like an RPG that's like pretty story heavy. And a Silent Hill games have always been very story heavy. And that's why I like them. And so the story's good. But man... with this one, like, I can't even explain it. I don't know what they were thinking. I don't know if maybe they didn't test the game right. Maybe somebody who, like, maybe the game testers at Konami in Japan just were on break that week. I don't understand how they could have put this game out with all these fundamental issues that could be fixed with good programming and expect to get a higher review. This game is trash, yo. The gameplay makes this game trash, and yet the story is amazing. Go online and watch a YouTube video about the story of the game. I don't want to spoil it in case you want to play the game for yourself, which I don't recommend, but go online and check out the story, yo, with Walter Sullivan and the 21 Sacraments. Like, it's great. They should make that into a movie. I don't mean a Silent Hill movie. We've already got a couple of those. I mean, like, they should make a movie like that, because it was deep. It was real deep. But, yeah, man... Silent Hill 4, The Room, worst Silent Hill I've ever played. I've only played the first 4 and Shattered Memories, and I hated that one. This one, actually, Shattered Memories is probably worse. That one's probably worse. I believe that's the one that's a PS2 remake of the first game where you don't even use any guns. Like, I didn't like that one. But the original 1, 2, and 3 are great. And hopefully the new ones will be great too. Silent Hill 4, not great. Very frustrating game. Just very frustrating and not fun. Games are supposed to get harder and be fun and be more challenging. That's fine. But here it's just too much for the sane person to possibly want to keep playing without losing their damn minds. What do you think? Let me know. Take care. We'll talk soon.